Because the Lord would check me while I was dating him.
The longer that season is, I feel like the more tempted you are to like try to take shortcuts.
Have any exes come back around, and how did you handle it? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kimberly Louise. If you're new, if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. If you have not hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do it because we need you here. We're excited that you're here. Hubby is back as promised.
Hey y'all.
This is actually, y'all, might as well say the night before our vacation. And we really wanted to get this film for you guys. You guys asked so many questions, okay? I don't know how many we are going to get to, but we are going to try.
Yeah.
You ready, babe?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to start with some of the questions that we got from our original How God Wrote Our Love Story video. If you have not checked out that video, I'll link it in the cards. Please go check that out first because some questions may be answered there. Okay. So the first question is, how long were you dating before getting married?
A year and a half.
All right, a year and a half. How long? No, before getting married, we dated for a year and a half and we were engaged. Okay. They asked, how long did we date before you proposed?
Yeah.
So before you proposed was a year and a half.
And then after I proposed, it was 6 months, then we got married.
Yeah, so a total of 2 years.
Total of 2 years, yeah.
A total of 2 years. How long were we single before meeting? Oh, wow. I feel like I was single forever, y'all. I was single for like... Okay, I define single as not being married. But I guess if you're asking...
How long were you not dating?
How long was I not dating anybody? It was almost 10 years for me. How long for you?
It might have been close to like 5 years for me.
Okay. So
5
years
for
for
him. 4 or 5
him.
years somewhere in there.
5 years for him. Almost 10 for me, child, because... Anyway. All right. So I have all of these... so many questions. I just don't... We gonna try. All right. Yeah. And these are off the cuff, so we just answering.
Yeah.
All right. So this one says... My question is, how did you guys manage to be celibate, avoid sleeping with each other before getting married? You want to take that one?
Sure. Well, I mean, I would love to sit here and say that, oh yes, we just were so strong and, you know, just kept ourselves. But the reality is we had a lot of help. I would say part of it was just our environment. So when we first started dating, I think you said in the last video, right? That Kim, she had just sold her house.
Yeah.
And so she was living with her parents. So that's one level of accountability. And I, about 4 months before I met you, had just moved down south. And I was living with my pastor at the time. So, yeah. So that helps.
I would say when it comes to like avoiding sleeping with each other, we both knew what we wanted, and we both knew that we didn't want to have sex before marriage. So it wasn't like this, oh my gosh, I really gotta avoid him so I don't know. Like, it was just like, we know what we want. Was it easy all the time? No. We like each other. We're attracted to each other. Like, it's not easy all the time, but God was faithful and he kept us, man. Like, just like he said, the accountability was like big for us. So I would say get you some people that you can say, hey man, I almost messed up, help. You know what I'm saying? Because I would say our church community was invaluable. Would you agree? Like, we had like the best the best community around us.
Yeah. And you know, like you said, like we pretty much, the day we started dating, we're just like, all right, sex off the table.
Right.
And, you know, obviously that's easier said than done. But I think even just kind of coming out the gate and saying that kind of helped to, you know, level things versus being like, wonder if I can skirt the line a little bit. But no,
You can now, baby.
Thank you.
All right. This one has 2 questions in it. The first question is, how do you balance your intimacy with the Lord as a wife and all that comes with caring for your home, your husband, and even yourself? I'm going to save that one for another video that I'm going to do on just being a Christian wife, homemaker, stay-at-home wife. I'm gonna do a separate Q&A for that. So hang on to that question, sis. I got you. That's gonna be in a whole other video. But the other question you had was, how do you and your husband handle conflict? This is such a good question. Mm-hmm. How do we handle conflict?
Well, I'll be the first to admit that Kim is actually a lot better at this than I am. I've been getting better, but
I think it's because I'm very much like, if there's an issue, let's talk about the issues. Let's lay them out on the table. Let's get to the bottom of it. Yeah. And we do communicate a lot.
Yeah.
I would say, like, there was an argument we had, and we were on our way to church, y'all.
Oh, fun. Yeah, fun story.
And so I was mad. But he was like mad at me. And I was like, what you mad at me for? And so we arguing back and forth in the car. So we get to church.
Still mad. Like walking into church.
Like,
we'll pause the argument just to say hello to like the people greeting at the door. Then enter the church and continue arguing. Like it was that bad. And I think it was something silly. Like
it was something stupid. I know what we was arguing about, but I ain't gonna say it.
Oh, you ain't?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
We was late to church.
All right.
But the reason we was late to church. Anyway, the reason we was late to church was the reason.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was a great reason, but we was late.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get to church, y'all. We worshiping. I can't worship, right? I can't be mad at my husband.
Just worship
and try to worship.
Face.
The Lord was like, nah, fix that. Okay. So I would say we communicate a lot when it comes to conflict. I would say a lot of times I'm the one that's like, hey, we need to talk about this. You know, let's discuss this. And he's open to it. He's always open to it. Would you say that?
Yeah. And I would also say I'm pretty quick to acknowledge when I done messed up. And I think also just the fact that we both desire like unity and oneness. We don't like for stuff to like linger.
Yeah.
I feel like even now when we notice like something's off, like one of us has like an attitude or something, it's like, even if we give each other a second, eventually we're just gonna be like, hey, like what's good? Mm-hmm. Or are we gonna just be petty and be like, so you still mad? Me, I'm gonna introduce food into the equation.
Oh yeah, I will make him food too.
Because I don't know how this kind of became a rule of mine. It was like, you can be mad at me, but you're not gonna be mad and hungry. So like if you are hungry and mad at me, it is by choice, not because you didn't have the opportunity to eat. And so, yeah.
Although one time I was mad at you and you bought me food and I threw it in the trash. When we were dating.
By choice, like I said.
When we were dating, this still wasn't when we were married though.
No, this one we were dating.
This is when we were dating. I was mad and I was like, I don't want your food, your flowers, your nothing.
But yet and still, that was a choice.
It was. I can buy my own food. Hey, You know me, Miss Independent. Okay. All right.
But yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I say so. You know, we don't always do the best job, but we always are fighting to, you know, move forward, and
we're always working at it. Always working at it.
I'm just being reminded, like we aren't our enemies. Like,
yeah,
you know, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, and so understanding that there is like a for real force at work that is trying to mess this up. So, yeah.
Right. Y'all know Satan don't like marriage.
Yeah.
Not a godly marriage. So we know that. So we gotta fight daily, man. This is a fight daily. Okay.
Oh, and I just want to throw this little part in there.
Go ahead.
And I'll also say the fact that we both, in moments of conflict, we will, like if we, you know, if it's one of those things like, okay, we can't talk about it in a moment, or we had a conversation and things still were kind of shaky. I would say that we both do a good job of usually going to the Lord with whatever the issue is. And I would definitely say, like, while we were dating, that's something that I noticed and really appreciated about you, is that, like, I don't know, I might have done stupid and, just been like, Lord, we done got off the phone angry and I'm like, Lord, what did I done now? Like, God, just help me. I didn't apologize. I'm trying to do right. And then next thing I know, Kim called me back and just like, I'm sorry. I'm like, Lord? she talked to you, didn't she?
This is why your relationship with the Lord, ladies, when you're single, is so pivotal and important. Because the Lord would check me while I was dating him. That never happened in any other dating relationship that I had, but the Lord would check me when it came to him, and I had to apologize. Like, I couldn't just stay in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just couldn't do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've done it before where I'd be like, well, I'm mad and I'm gonna be mad, but not with you.
I would also say, like, sometimes when we have conflict, God just puts us in situations like with the whole getting locked out the house that time.
I shared that in some video. One of my videos.
Yeah,
but if you guys haven't watched it, what happened, babe?
We was arguing and were you about to go out for a walk, I think?
I was like, we was fussing.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna go for a walk because I just need to get out of the house.
And it was one of them things where, like, I might have felt like she was kind of trying to storm off. So I followed her into the garage and, muscle memory just ended up locking the door behind me. And then we were out of the house.
Neither one of us, I don't bring my key. Neither one of us had our key. And so the only person that has a key is my father, who was at work. So we was forced to walk it out.
Yeah.
Literally. The Lord was like, okay, I'm sick of y'all. Go figure it out. Get out. You don't even need this house that I gave you. Because you don't act right. So he kicked us out. He be checking both of us.
Yeah.
He really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think
Next
that covers that. Next question. I would like to know, at what point in the relationship did your husband propose to you? We answered that. How did he do it? How did you propose?
That was fun. So, I'll give the original plan and then what actually happened. So originally, I was going to propose outside near the river, near the water. It's going to be real pretty. Was going to have, I guess this part still kind of remained the same. I was going to have friends and family all come. And yeah, I think this was like near the library where I ended up proposing. But it was near the river, and I was going to have like family and friends kind of flank in from both sides because there's like 2 far like parking lots. I'm going to kind of have everybody walk in, kind of make a little circle, like candles, and then I was going to, just show up from somewhere behind a tree or something, and then just, kind of finish the little circle and be like, pop the question, bam. Then like the day before or 2 days before, because I had been planning this with Kill's mom and one of her best friends, because she was taking some pictures that day. And so I was like, oh, perfect. Now I don't have to come up with some lie to be like, oh yeah, make sure your hair, your nails, you dress nice, blah, blah. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to slide in under the guise of this and make it happen. But it decided it wanted to rain that day. And I want to say that earlier that same week.
It stormed all day.
Yeah.
It rained all day.
It rained that day, but then at the same time, earlier that week, ran over some road debris, so like my car was out of commission. And so I'm like Ubering from I Ubered to the store, got flowers, Ubered to the library where I ended up proposing, because it's a very nice library. So don't think like I'm just over here,
It is. It's super nice.
Popping the question
they
about
have
a car
weddings
catalog
there,
or something.
so it's nice.
Yeah, and mind you, before this day, I had never been in this library. So I'm like on Google Maps, how like with some buildings you can like kind of look inside or whatever. So I'm doing these little 3D tours and all this, trying to figure out like, all right, where can I go? That was only like so helpful. And so I'm literally just, I arrived a little bit early. Place isn't even open yet. And so eventually, they open the doors. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting outside, a random lady wants to tell me about her failed marriage. And I was like, ma'am, not now. Just not now.
He said, "Not now, babe."
I was just kind of like smiling and nodding, and I was just like, "Hey, I got the proposal plan out here." Like, yeah. So I'm walking around this library, just scoping out. Mind you, the thing has like 3 or 4 floors. It's huge, and I'm just trying to find the place with some good lighting and all this, and like at the same time, I got random pedestrians just like, "Oh, are those flowers for me?" No. And so I'm just, eventually I found a spot, called my mother-in-law, be like, hey, here's where we're going to be, kind of coordinating with everybody. And then like at the same time, like Kim is taking pictures inside of the library. So I am like on the first floor while she's on like the second and third floor. And I'm like kind of sneaking people into the library while she's still upstairs. And the plan was that like, okay, once she finishes and comes down the elevator, boom, there's everybody. And so, mind you, I just like rushed off the phone the previous night because my pastor came over, gave me a haircut, made sure I was fresh.
He was being a jerk to me, y'all.
I was not being a jerk.
The night before.
I was not being a jerk.
Like, he was really rude. He like got off the phone with me. Normally we stay on the phone for like, I don't know how long. It's just whenever. But he was just very like, kind of brushed me off. And I was like, all right, I'm going to let you have your time. But we're going to talk about this in the morning.
Anywho. Yeah, and then I think I had made up something the day of. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sleepy. I'm going, lay down a little bit longer. I was calling her I was calling you on the way while you were on the way to the library just to kind of, have a little bit of morning convo. And then I was like, yep, I'm a little tired. Let me go and lay it back down. But yeah, so everybody showed up, pretty much ended up having like a line of family and friends that pretty much led up to me. And I had just like a little circle of those little fake, little electric tea light candles. And then I had everybody within the lines holding roses. And yeah, popped the question.
It was beautiful, y'all.
It was.
I have no words. Y'all know I told y'all that's rare for me. I walked in there, I was like, what is happening? Like, I literally saw everybody just about. Only a few people weren't able to be there. And I don't know, I was just like, you did this? You planned all this?
Because it takes a lot of energy and effort for me to like execute. Like,
I mean, it's a lot planning anything, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like it, especially with you, because you
I'm what?
You try to find out stuff. You be like a little sleuth.
What?
I'm like a little private eye.
I am a private eye. I will listen. Y'all want to know some information? I can find it out.
Like Kim, that friend where you be like, oh, I met this guy, and then like 2 minutes later, she's like, oh,
he married.
He graduated from like what?
Leave him alone, sis.
Yeah. But yes, that's how the proposal happened.
Yes. The next question is, do y'all want kids? And if so, how many would you want to have? Yes, and as many as the Lord want to give us.
Oh, yeah.
Next question is, she said, oh, I'm not reading all the stuff. She said, I'm excited for this video. Thank you, girl. Or, sir, I don't know. Here are my questions. Question 1, how was the adjustment from dating to getting married to living together? And did your emotions for each other change? I would say the adjustment from dating to getting married was pretty smooth for us. I we didn't like stay overnight with each other like that. Like we weren't like together a lot. So for us going from dating to marriage, it was like, oh, this is great. I get to see him all the time now. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I'd say like, I guess if we just want to talk specifically about when we were engaged, I would say like we're dating, I propose, we're engaged, like from that 6 months up to getting married, I just felt like it got really busy. And
Oh,
so
well,
I think I don't know, eventually we kind of hit a point where we're just like, hey, like we need to take time and like go on a date. Cause like, it seemed like every time we met, we were like talking about the wedding.
We were talking about the wedding.
Talking
we
about
were planning it. We
marriage,
was trying to
premarital counseling.
Yep.
And so it was all, it almost seemed like for a moment, like, wedding planning and counseling and everything like that kind of overshadowed just kind of the normal rhythm, which is understandable. But it kind of hit a point where we're just like, hey, we need to like pause for a second and just like have fun for a moment. But yeah.
To living together. I would say living together, child, it was great. We didn't have, like, there weren't like any hiccups. I know how people are like, I gotta live with him before I get married to him. And it was like, why? Because you're gonna have to learn each other anyway. And so we were both open to it. We were both, I would say, ready to learn each other. If y'all hear something outside, it's because our neighbors be turned. But
They do.
I don't know. I feel like it wasn't no big thing.
Yeah, I think probably the only thing was just when we originally got married, I felt like I just didn't know where anything was.
Oh, in the house?
Yeah, because I felt like probably on like 2 or 3 occasions you just like was like reorganizing like everything.
I have a tendency. Y'all know I like to organize if you watch my homemaking videos.
And so it was a little bit where I was just like, where is stuff? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, I think because of when we got married, there was just kind of that. I mean, I guess it was okay because we're both homebodies and with COVID and everything, we weren't really able to like go many places. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, initially we were fine. We was just enjoying life.
We was in that honeymoon phase. We still in that honeymoon phase. Isn't that right?
Getting Amazon packages every day.
Yes.
That was like Kim's favorite thing.
My favorite thing was when people were sending us, people still blessed us with gifts even though we didn't get to have a for real wedding. And I'm so grateful for y'all. If y'all watching this video,
thank y'all.
Y'all helped out, okay? Y'all helped out so much. So we really appreciate y'all. There's another question under this question 1. She said, did your emotions for each other change? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I guess after we went from dating to getting married and living together, did our emotions, I feel like, at least for me, I just grew closer to him. I was more open with him.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely feel like we grew closer to each other and just kind of learned all the little, intricacies of just like doing life together.
Next question. Was it worth the wait from celibacy to wedding night? Absolutely.
Yup.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was worth every bit of that wait. Highly recommend it. Yeah, not gonna go into more detail, but y'all, yes, it was.
It was.
Question 3, she said, any advice for those waiting for kingdom marriage? I have a few videos on my channel about waiting. I would just say keep trusting God. Don't put your focus just on a spouse.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would agree. I mean, I feel like you pretty much summed up what I was going to say. I was just going to be like, just be willing to focus on more than just that. Because I feel like that can become a bit of a...
idol. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, idol. It was another word I was going to say. Kind of like a snare of sorts. Where it's like, okay, you can find yourself just kind of getting discouraged or like slipping into just despair or just whatever, just because, oh, okay, I want this thing, but it hasn't happened yet. And then you start to question, like, all right, will it happen? Does God have this for me? And it's just like, I think being able to surrender your desires to God is a difficult but important thing. like being able to say like, God, I want this. I believe you can do this. But even if you don't, like, I'm still gonna trust you.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah.
That's good. Trust God anyway. Let him do his thing, y'all. Like, marriage is not the goal of life. It's not the goal of life. A
Right.
relationship with the Lord, though,
And
nothing
singleness
like
isn't a
it.
punishment either.
Singleness is not a punishment.
Like it's not like you're like it's not like singleness exists just like to be this little waiting ground until you get married. Like you can still like love people, serve others, and
Yeah.
just do so much like for the kingdom and for just like your family, community, whatever. Like there's a ton of things that you can do prior to getting married. And I think sometimes if we aren't careful, we kind of find ourselves like putting our lives or our purpose or our hopes and dreams and all these things on pause because we feel like, okay, because I don't want to do this without someone, I don't think that I can do anything without, you know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
It's like you can still kind of progress and prepare and take steps prior to meeting that person. I don't know. Just hope that made sense.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know how they can sow a seed.
That's a real good question. Well, I mean, the fact you're watching the video helps.
Thank you for watching this video, if you're watching this video. And if you watch it from beginning to end, I heart you. I don't really know.
I mean, I know like they have memes on like live videos, but for ones like these, I don't
We
know.
don't
You
know.
might actually there might be a way like on the video there might be a little button that says like thanks. That might be an option. I'm not for whatever reason I think that only is there for live, but it might be on there for like just regular videos too.
You guys don't ever have to send me anything. I just appreciate the engagement, and I love y'all so much. Your comments, your encouragement. Just know, even that is enough. Your prayers, you guys be praying for me and us. So we greatly appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
All right. So this is a lot. Okay. What's the hardest thing about dating and waiting for that someone? Dating and waiting for that someone. I would say those moments of like where you just like, I know for me, I used to say this, I'm silly though. I used to be like, you know what would be nice? If somebody brought me food and I didn't have to pay for it or go get it or nothing. Like just like them days where I just don't feel like doing. I just need somebody to just drop the food off to me. They ain't gotta stay. Just I'm greedy like that. But seriously, like maybe while you're waiting, just like he was talking about, like you thinking, what if they don't come? Like, what if this doesn't happen for me? It's happening for everybody else. Like, what if like I'm not meant to be married? Like what? Like you start second guessing a lot. And I think in those moments, it's just put your focus back to God. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if I'm just thinking about, what if I don't get married? What if I don't have this? What if I don't have this? I'm missing out on what I have, what God has blessed me with. Like the beauty in the season that I'm in. I'm missing out on that because I'm like, well, I don't have a husband yet. Or I don't have a wife yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What would you say?
I would say like time. I mean, obviously it's not like a one size fits all, but I feel like if it's been a while, I think it can definitely test like your patience and like you said, you start to question things. And I feel like also the longer that season is, I feel like the more tempted you are to like try to take shortcuts. Because I feel like, if you're like, okay, I believe God has someone for me and waiting for them, preparing, doing all this stuff. And I don't know, years or however long go by, I think that's where like the temptation is to settle or to say like, all right, I am going to just go out and entertain a relationship that I know isn't right. Or, you know what I'm saying? And I think at that point is probably where it then truly probably becomes the hardest, because then I think you have to live with the reality of I got tired of waiting on God and started, I now have to live with the reality of trying to keep up with decisions I tried to make on my own.
Right. You when you take matters into your own hands, and then you're like, this is not what I thought. Or you take matters into your own hands, and then you're like, okay, God, come on and just put your stamp on it. I done did the heavy lifting for you, so if you could just go ahead and just, make this work. And God, I told you to wait, and you didn't listen.
I mean, I think also, depending on where you're at in life, the hardest part could also be maybe the realization that you might not be as ready as you think you are.
Ooh, you better preach on tonight.
No, I'm just saying, I feel like a lot of times when we're thinking about like preparing for a relationship, marriage, we often paint ourselves in a better light than what we really are. And I don't know, like I think about, like when the Bible says like, hey, you're looking at, what's like the speck or like the sawdust in someone else's eye, but you're ignoring the log in your own eye. And I always kind of read that as like, oh, okay, it's a scripture about like, don't be a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Like deal with your stuff. But then I think when I started to think about it more and I was realizing like, oh, there's a speck in their eye, but there's a log in my own eye. So it's like, there is more wrong with me that I'm ignoring than there is in others that I'm like actively paying attention to.
Wow, that's good.
And so it's just like,
that's good.
I don't know. I think a lot of times sometimes the hard part is while waiting, still taking assessment and asking those questions of yourself or getting feedback from others to say like, hey, I feel like I'm ready. And then, having those good friends to be like, yeah, I don't know.
Are you sure?
You're a little selfish. Like, what? What are you talking about?
You real big selfish, sis.
Yeah.
Introspection is huge. Introspection is huge. This says, do you all have the same friend group you had when you were dating? We didn't have, okay. I guess when we were dating, sure. Because we have different friends because we're from different places.
Yeah.
So I feel like my friends are his friends and his friends are my friends now. So I guess yes. Would you say yes?
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yes. All right. Have any exes come back around and how did you handle it? Girl, no, I set them things ablaze back then. Okay. On fire. We done. Ended it. Closed. It ain't no, I need to get closure. Nah. Not for me. Did you?
No. I mean, so the funny thing is like the last I had heard about my exes, they were married and had children. And so like I hadn't really even, had any type of communication or nothing like that in ages. And so, it's.
All right. How do you set boundaries with family and friends when you two just want to be alone? Talking about dating. I guess when you say be alone, what you talking about?
I mean, it's like,
be alone.
Like if you're talking about like just go out on a date or something.
I'm not sure.
Because if that's the case, I mean, we had like a date night, and I think just kind of consistency in that kind of helps others to like respect it.
Oh yeah.
Because they know like, oh, okay, it's
date night for them.
It's date night for them. Let me lead them along or whatever.
How has your best friends adjusted to you all being married and not hanging or seeing them as much? Well, my best friends, I see them. 2 of my best friends are married and got kids, so I see them. I don't know. I feel like maybe at first it was hard, but I think it was hard for everybody because everybody had to be home when we got married, so nobody was seeing nobody in person.
Yeah, and like I feel like my family and friends are all like scattered to the 4 winds, and so I don't get to see them like super often anyway. So a lot of our contact and communication is usually like, a FaceTime or video chat or phone call or something. So there had to be like more of like a conscious effort, I would say, keeping in touch, like, now that we're married. Because I feel like 2 things can kind of happen. Either one, you can kind of like just dive into marriage and just kind of solely focus on that and nothing else. Or like your friends or family can begin to like dismiss opportunities to like contact and communicate because they'd be like, oh, they married, they busy, you know. And I think there's like a middle ground there where it's like, hey, yeah, probably not gonna like chat all the time like we used to, but at the same time I feel like there's still room and space to like have those constant people in your life. This is coming from someone who admittedly doesn't do the best job of it, but I can still see it and acknowledge it.
What has been the hardest adjustment from dating to marriage? I think we kind of answered that. How do you make things work being a stay-at-home wife? Do you miss working? I'm going to do a whole nother video on being a stay-at-home wife. But do I miss working? I'm still working. If that makes any sense. I'm always work. Literally.
It's all work.
It's all work. It's just
Yeah.
what you define it as.
Yeah, it's all work. It's just some work comes with W-2s and others don't.
Yep.
You know, that's really
Very true. Somebody said yes. And I wanted to ask about what were some things you discussed prior to marriage, like finances, roles, etc. How did you both prepare for marriage, and also did you both get premarital counseling, and is this something you recommend? We discussed it all.
Yeah. And I feel like anything we hadn't already discussed, we definitely discussed in premarital counseling.
And yes, we recommend premarital counseling.
Absolutely.
We recommend counseling, premarital counseling, postmarital counseling, that thing, counseling.
Yeah, sure.
For you, counseling. Okay. So,
like, yeah, we discussed
definitely discuss finances.
Yeah, we discussed.
I don't know if we could discuss like roles though. I mean, maybe we kind of did. It's been a long time, but maybe we kind of talked about, like, I always knew I would be the one that would cook because, you know, I enjoyed it. As far as like I like traditional roles. I don't want to take out the trash. I don't want to cut the grass. I don't want to do like all the stuff that they say are traditional for men and for women. I'm fine with it. It don't bother me at all. But I would say, like, as far as like cleaning, you help out, like, just if not more sometimes.
Yeah, I think we're like, I feel like we kind of fell into the traditional roles in a sense, but I think we're maybe a little more fluid with it because it's just like, oh, you know, if, I don't know, you're in pain one day and I'll be like, well, I guess
The house gonna be dirty.
I guess we just gonna go hungry. It's just
Right.
like, no, just, you know.
He knows how to cook things and do things. So for us, it just worked out. How did you both prepare for marriage? I got a ton of videos on marriage for me, but how did you prepare for marriage, if anything?
For one, I would say I definitely had just pastors, leaders, other people who are married, just sharing with me, just being very, I guess, just straightforward and blunt with me about marriage. Just saying, like, how would I say it? Like, I had people in my life that didn't let me buy into the fantasy of marriage. Which is like, hey, this is work. You know, it's like one of my original barber when I grew up, his son took over the shop after him and went on to like start a marriage ministry. And like the last time I saw him before I moved down here, I don't know, he was just sharing with me like some of the questions he like asked people. But he'd be like, you know, just kind of challenging maybe some of the things that we might just assume is normal when going into marriage. He's like, okay. So it's like, all right, you say, you know, you want to be married, you're so excited, da 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 da. But it's like, are you willing to love someone like in situations where they're incapable of loving or of like reciprocating certain things where it's like, you know, never know. For whatever reason, y'all on vacation, tragic accident happens, now your partner is paralyzed from the waist down. Like, are you just out now? Like, are you going to stay faithful to those vows? And like, that's the type of stuff I was kind of hit with. So I was like, oh, good questions. It's just, but yeah, also just seeing people like just love their spouses, and also read books and listened to sermons and all that other good stuff, and read the Bible and prayed and all that good stuff. All of it.
Same. Read the Bible, prayed, asked for godly counsel. I think I was prepared for marriage way before I met him. Like I always say this, you're a wife before you're a wife on paper. You're a wife because that's your mindset. You're already walking in some of those things. You're already working on some of those things. You're already learning different skills. Like those are things that I think are so important, and just having godly women in your life. Like I had some godly older women in my life. I'm not talking about like, I wanted people that were my age, my peers, but I also wanted people in my life that were older and wiser than me, that have been where I want to go. And so I still keep those people around because, I mean, their advice it's just like, you can't buy that. Whew, all right. We're trucking along. Hopefully our battery don't die.
Right.
All right.
I think we're okay.
How did you both transition from thinking as singles to a married couple? That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I remember this one time. This was when we were married, probably, I don't know how long at this point. My pastor had came over because we needed some counsel. I told y'all we needed it, okay? And he was like, y'all have to understand y'all not one yet. Yes, I know y'all got married, but becoming one is a process. So I can see now, like, how I already know what you're thinking before you open your mouth. Like, it's like, I get what he meant by that. Like, we weren't one yet. We were still kind of thinking like, oh, like in my case, like being a stay-at-home wife, I was like, no, that's his money. And he would always be like, babe, this our money. And I'd be like, no, I got my money. You got your money, And he like, nah, this our money. But like, as far as thinking like one, because at the end of the day, it's one bucket. It's one, we won. Like, that's what being one is. I think finances is a good way to look at it. Because like, when I've heard it said, like, people be like, you'll have a child with somebody, but you won't share a bank account with them. Make it make sense. Like,
I feel like sometimes we can like go into marriage under the assumptions that we're just gonna be like two single people living together.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Where it's just like, oh yes, we're just two singles with benefits who like check different boxes on our taxes. So it's just being aware and realizing that, like, hey, the things that you might do for yourself also affects who you're married to. And like, for better or for worse, like if you're, I don't know, like not taking like care of yourself, like your body, like your health wise, like that directly impacts the person you're living with, whether it's them having to take care of you or just like maybe creating a greater level of stress or worry on them because they're like, oh man, well, I know that, they have a history of high blood pressure or something in their family and they seem like they don't care. Like, there's all of these different like nuances that come into play now when you realize like, hey, like you're literally like loving the other person as yourself. I think kind of living in just the constant reality of that, I think sometimes was maybe some of the initial challenge, because it was like, oh, it's not like we went from seeing each other several times a week and maybe going on some dates and some text messages, some phone calls here and there, to now it's like this is like a constant thing. Like, it's all working together. It's just like, it's like if you snore, that affects your partner.
Yo, pray for me.
You might not even know, but upon getting married, you discover these things.
You're airing it out, babe.
Yeah. And and now it's just like, oh man, now I got to get tests done and make sure I'm breathing right.
Y'all, he wasn't breathing in his sleep. We ain't gonna get into it.
Whatever.
But yeah, I think you covered it.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, how do you both support each other in your walk with Christ? And how do you keep him at the foundation? Y'all got some good ones. Allowing him to have his time with the Lord. He allows me to have my time with the Lord. Like, because he know I don't have my time with the Lord in the morning, my attitude be a little different.
Mine too.
Yours be a little different too.
I get annoyed with you very easily.
You do. I noticed that. In the morning time, like if we ain't talked to the Lord yet, we be a little snippy.
Look now, I ain't talked to Jesus yet.
And you talking to me, you getting on my nerves. Look.
It's like I understand the electric bill went up $50, but
I don't care.
Right now, I need to talk to Jesus.
How do you keep him at the foundation? I think I would say it's that individual time that we both spend with the Lord ourselves, so that when we come together and we're like conversing about the word and we're talking about what we read, and sometimes some of the stuff that he read, it matches up with what I read, and they be like, oh, you read that too? Like, just the conversations about the Lord. That was one of the things I loved just when we were dating. Like, we would always just have these rich conversations about Jesus and what we was reading in the scriptures and all of that stuff. Like, it was just so cool, because I always wanted to sit down and take a Bible and just talk to my man about it. Like, I'm a nerd like that. But anyway, I love the Lord like that too. But like, I just wanted, I don't know, it was nice that we can always talk about the Lord. We can always, it don't matter, talk about the sermon, talk about just all of that stuff. Like, how is God speaking to you through this?
And I feel like we also had an understanding, and I can't remember when we had this conversation, but I felt like it was really impactful with just remembering that, like, the institution of marriage isn't like ours to just shape and mold as we want. Where it's like, God created it for a purpose. And so, where it's like, yes, this is our marriage, at the same time, like, God has a purpose for marriage. And so we try our best to live in a way that, one, we remember, like, hey, that our marriage is meant to reflect a love between Christ and his church. Understanding, like, that even our being married has purpose to it.
Yeah.
And
I think another way that we keep him as our foundation is just making sure that we attend church together.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're serving at church, it can be easy to put that service as the priority, and then you kind of stop going to church with your spouse. He kind of going when he going, and you kind of meet up after. Like, one of the things that we put in place early on was like, we need to go to church together. We need to go to the same church together. We need to go to church together. Wherever we go, we need to go there together, and we need to worship together, and we need to eat from the same. What do they say? Eat from the same.
Drink from the same
drink
cup.
From the same cup, like whatever. However they say
something.
it.
Yeah, I know that.
Anything else to add to that?
I don't think so.
All right. How do you guys manage your time now that you both have to be considerate of each other's time daily? I gotta do better at this, because y'all know I do YouTube now. Before I was just homemaking, so I manage my time fine. I have plenty of time. I ain't need him for a lot, but he's like very technically savvy. So sometimes I'll be like working on a video or something, and I'll be like, babe, he'd be like, on a meeting, like I'm at work, and I'd be like, oh. Because I forget, right? I have to remember, like, I'm still working on that. And I'm sorry, babe. Sometimes I be,
sorry,
interrupting you.
I've spoiled you.
You have, because he'll just stop what he's doing to come help me. But I got to do better. What would you say?
I mean, I think also just letting each other be aware of, like, what we're doing at any given time,
Sorry, y'all.
It's all good.
I ain't going to explain, but y'all should know what I'm doing.
But, yeah, I think, like, if, like, sometimes you'll just send me a text and be like, hey, I'm recording. So I'll know, like, all right,
Yeah.
Or if I'm on a meeting, like, I'll just, like, close the door to the office so like, hey.
He's on a meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like little cues like that just to kind of help us know when we're doing something that we need to focus on. But
Question 4 from the same person. How has both of your views on marriage changed, if at all, compared to when you were single? I feel like early on with my walk with the Lord, I just thought marriage was just like this. I really at first thought it was this fairy tale and you was just gonna, like, he was just gonna like bow at your feet and like all of
bow at feet? Thought the
back,
husband
or,
was gonna
no,
worship
like,
you?
no, like early on, like I thought, I don't know, like I was like, oh, it's gonna be so beautiful, like
Hallmark messed you all the way up.
Hallmark, baby, Hallmark will mess you up. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you be thinking, no, it ain't like that. But then as I grew in my relationship with the Lord, and He kind of started to reveal things to me, and I'm talking to godly couples, and I'm spending time with them, I'm like, oh, we gotta talk for real to each other. We gotta like communicate. And I can't just have an attitude and go in my room. So when you dating, it's different. When you dating, you can go home and you ain't gotta talk to them. And it's no big deal. When you married, we still gotta talk to each other. We still live in the same house. Like, we don't get to just go and, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my views on marriage, yes, they've changed some. But once I started to learn what I learned when I was single, it wasn't too much of a difference. Because again, like he was talking about how our people they were raw and real with us. They didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd just say, like, I've definitely started to, I feel like I view it, like, more highly now.
You didn't view it highly?
No, I'm saying I did view it high. Now I view it even higher.
Even
now.
higher than you did. Mm-hmm.
Now some of it I've actually, like, lived through.
Mm-hmm.
And even just, like, the idea of, like, how sanctifying marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, like, the idea of being with someone and through like trying to walk and serve and live with them while at the same time like recognizing all that's messed up in you. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's one thing to just go into marriage all just bright-eyed and just like, oh yes, like you said, it's just gonna be wonderful.
It's gonna be amazing.
Every
day I wake up, it's gonna be like rainbow rivers.
It's like, yes, and we're just gonna have breakfast in bed every day.
Every day.
And then like
no dishes or dirty laundry. Just
and then all of a sudden, like, fast forward the clock and like breakfast in bed stop. And then it's like, oh, what's breakfast?
Where's my stuff?
Where's the biscuits? What didn't happen? And then like I think you realize like, oh, I just was like I was kind of having some lofty goals there. I'm a little lazy. I just want it to be like catered to, just until Jesus come back. Yeah, just like, no,
just want to be a little spoiled.
You got to act the part to play in this. And it's just like, oh, I got to be like Jesus. Like, I ain't come to be served. I came to serve. Like, oh.
Do you think it's important to uplift your spouse daily and serve each other compared to what is negatively broadcasted in social media? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uplift your spouse. Encourage him in the Lord. Pray for him daily. I mean, pray for him. I mean, lay hands on him when he sleep. Pray for him. There's nothing like seeing someone grow in the Lord and your prayers have something to do with that. In a sense, like with you, when it comes to like praying for your spouse. Like when I prayed for you in the past and I'm like watching you kind of like walk into that. Mm-hmm. It's just really, really cool. And just uplifting you and encouraging you like, hey babe, you could do it. Like, you do the same for me.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes there's also that assumption that, just because you've, I guess, crossed over from singleness to, being married, that now like they're like, there are no longer any like insecurities or worries or anything like that, but that could be further from the truth, I think. It just plays itself out in a different way because now it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you aren't, a single person trying to attain a spouse. Now you may be a married person who is like struggling with maybe the battle of wanting to be the spouse that you envisioned yourself being prior to you getting married. And it's just like, it's, and I think sometimes that can kind of be deflating if, just for whatever reason, where it's just like, oh yeah, when we got married, I wanted to do X, Y, Z in the third, and I've only done X and Y, it's, and just kind of felt like, oh, I'm behind the ball or something like that. But I don't know. I think just being able to like be attentive and like recognize and celebrate the victories when they happen.
Yeah, serve each other. Serve each other. That we serve like Christ serves. That's what we do.
And I think even with that, just also being cognizant of like how your spouse needs to be served versus how you want to serve them. Because those don't always like match up,
Yeah. Next question. Did you pray for your husband before you actually met him? And if so, what are some of the prayers that you prayed? I want to do a video on that too. Yes. I prayed a lot for this man before I even knew who this man was. Prayed a lot for him. Prayed for him. I might give you just like a short kind of overview. I would say I pray for his mind a lot. Just that his mind would be focused on the Lord and not on the things of this world. Because that was a big deal to me. Like, I've dated men in this world. I ain't married to none of them. Like, and so I knew I wanted my husband to be someone that was more focused on Christ more than he was on anything else. Even me. Like, I didn't want someone that was just like so enamored with me and, oh, Kim is blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, are you enamored with the Lord like that? Do you talk to the Lord like that? Like, what y'all be talking about? Like, I wanted that for my spouse. So I would pray for that for him early on. But there's other prayers I would pray as well. But yeah, we're going to keep going with that. But there's a video coming for that too. So thank y'all for these ideas. I really appreciate it. All right, this is the last one we're going to do tonight. It looks like this one has 5 questions in it. But it might be some we already answered. Did you discuss finances before you got married, such as debt, income, future goals? Yes.
Yes, we did.
When dating, how do you know a man is financially ready to be a provider? Ooh. When dating, how do you know a man is financially ready to be a provider? Okay, a first sign is if like y'all talking about going out on a date, he's asked you out and he's like, okay, well, you could pay for your half and then I'm gonna pay for my half. After a few dates of that, he might not be ready to be a provider, because I feel like if you ask me out, you're ready to pay. Like, that's a sign. Like, okay, does he have to pay all the time? No. But like, the first couple of dates, says a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. So if he found me and he got no money, I just feel like, what we gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then another way I knew for you was when, so we got engaged a year and a half, like we said, after we started dating. And one of the reasons was because you can share this. You didn't want to ask my dad for my hand in marriage.
Oh yeah. I pretty much told Kim that, because like I said, when I first moved down here, I was staying with my pastor at the time, and I told Kim that I personally would not feel comfortable asking her father for her hand in marriage if I didn't have a place like to bring her into, and it was just the gist of it. I kind of feel like that kind of shows at least some bit of like planning and like just foresight to say like, hey, because obviously it's a proposal. Like, I am proposing this future. Like, it's just like, hey, I'm proposing that I marry your daughter. We live here. It's just,
yeah.
I just feel like that kind of just made sense to me personally. Yeah.
It says, what are some red flags women should look out for when it comes to a man's financial situation? If he say he got a job, but he ain't never, you don't never like hear him talk about work or.
Yeah, having a job, that's a good.
He might need a job.
That's a good first step. Definitely a good first step, and then I'd say even beyond having a job, taking care of whatever financial, financial responsibilities he has. Because just because you work and you have a job, don't mean you paying all your bills.
Like, is he asking you for money? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, I get it. Everybody need help every now and then. I get that. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if a man is asking me for money to help pay his rent, why you don't have your money for your rent? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's certain things that I'm like, nah, brother. Like, you need your money for your rent. Because I got to pay mine. Like,
I mean, I would say even just, I don't know if this is as much like a financial thing, as much just like a character thing, but just like being like faithful with what you have, regardless of how much you have.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just like, just because you meet somebody and they may not make as much at, whatever stage of life or in their career that they're at, that doesn't mean that, like, one, that that's always going to be the case, that they don't have a plan. It's like, I've known people who have, like, switched careers and taken, like, huge pay cuts and then have gone to just, just excel in their new careers. And it's just like, okay, yeah, he may not have as much or something, but, like, that don't mean that he has to, like, break the bank just to take you out to dinner.
And that doesn't mean that he can't provide. Like, a man don't have to make six figures. Like, come on now. Y'all know how some of y'all be ladies. He gotta make six figures or I can't. Like, he just like, how you manage your money matters more.
Absolutely. Because you can, like, I mean, because ultimately, if you make $1 million, but then spend $1 million, you still net zero. Like, it's just.
That's very true.
Like, you're like, oh, I made $1 million last year. But you spent.
Got nothing to show for it.
Like, but you spent $1,250,000.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just certain things I think we just kind of conflate or just like put too much weight on.
What would you say a red flag would be, though?
A red flag?
That women should look out for.
I think you could probably just look at how this person is. Just, I think kind of like what we already said, just like with, I would say, how they handle their financial responsibilities. Yeah, I would also say is how generous they are. Because I think that if someone is very, like, tight-fisted with what they have and is just unwilling to just be kind or generous towards others, I think that could also play out with how they act towards you.
Yeah. That is a red flag. If they are, like, kind of stingy and yeah.
On the opposite end, though, because I feel like sometimes this can maybe seem like an attractive thing. I've seen this, like, or rather, I've heard stories, but I have not, like, personally met these type of guys. So I'm just like, But I would say people who seem to be overly interested in how much they make, where it's just like, it's kind of like the center of their conversation is usually around, like, oh yeah, I make X, Y, Z in the third. Or it's like they have to make it be known that, like, what their net worth is, like, over breakfast.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I don't like that cocky, arrogant attitude. I can't.
I mean, not like, and that's not even the reason why I say that.
I don't like it because of that.
Because, I mean, yeah, the person can just be hardworking and, entrepreneurial or whatever. But I think that if a lot of what you communicate centers around what you have, I would worry that maybe you also, well, as God's word says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so I would worry that that's where you're putting your affection. That's where you're putting your hope. It's just like, hey, it's like, oh, I make all this, but if you lost all of it, would you lose your mind? You know what I'm saying? So.
That wisdom. I love me some you.
No, you too.
All right. Should women date men who are not part of a church community? Why? What kind of community are they a part of? They're not a part of a church community. Like, do they go to church? Or I just want to know who holds them accountable.
Yeah.
I would want to know that. What would you say?
I was saying, practically speaking, I think it makes sense to date somebody who's a part of it.
If you're a Christian and you want a Christian man, and I think it makes sense to date someone who is involved.
I just feel like that just tilts the scale in your favor a little bit more. Now, obviously, you know, stuff happens and people have experiences that might, you know, make them be in one season or another. But even so, I think that going through the work and effort to find a healthy church community to be a part of, I feel like is worth it. So, yeah, I would lean on like, yeah, he should probably, you know, be a part of the community or at least seeking one.
The last question, y'all. We making it. Says, should women over 35 need to be open-minded when dating? Be, in parentheses, she said, be open to dating men who are divorced and have children from previous marriage. In some ways, I know that there are some people who are like, I won't date a man if he got this. I won't date a man if he got this. I'm very specific about this. If it's not something that's like a godly trait, then you can't like really place your stamp on that as like the end all be all. If he don't have this, then, you know, I'm not gonna do blah 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 blah. Or if he was divorced, I think it depends on the circumstances of the divorce. Like, he divorced, what was the reason for the divorce? You know, is he trying to get back with the wife? Do they have kids? Does he have a good relationship with his kids? Like, what's that situation? Like, is it an amicable thing? I have more questions, but as far as should women over 35 be open to it, I don't know. I feel like I might be biased because I just believe that God can do anything. I just believe that God can grant you the desires of your heart. I just do. I wouldn't put down the person that was divorced just because he's divorced. Like, I wouldn't just be like, oh no, I can't talk to you because you were divorced. Like, I would need to know more information around it. What would you say?
I would say treat others the way you want to be treated.
That's good.
I don't know. I think I just think back to the idea of just how I was talking about, you know, how marriage can be sanctifying. How, like, I think sometimes we find ourselves in relationships that show us more about ourselves than we realize. Like, you could be like, oh, I don't want to be with a person who has kids or something like that, right? And this could be a person who loves their children and takes care of them, you know, all that good stuff. And you meet them, you know, a close friend of somebody be like, what was wrong? Well, he had children. So, you know, and it could be like that interaction probably just showed more so that you dislike children. You know what I'm saying? I think be open-minded in the sense of be willing to, I think I pretty much already said it earlier, just be willing to take those things to God and just
be open to what God wants to do.
Yes, there we go.
Because you might be the biggest blessing to those kids' lives if that person has kids and you lie, I don't do kids. Like, or if that person was divorced and I don't know. Like, I don't know what the scenario is, but I think be open to what God wants to do in your life.
Ultimately, sometimes we can raise the bar of entry for others while lowering it for ourselves. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, I want, you know, a person to, you know, look this way, make this much, do X, Y, Z in the third, you know, walk on water, glow in the dark. Just
walk on water.
Absolutely.
So silly.
You know, it's, you know, this person got to be He-Man or Hercules, you know, but in the modern day.
The modern day.
But it's just like,
I need them to be a gangster, but like, don't hit me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
But
but also love Jesus, but also.
But it's like, but I can be a hot mess. And
I could be spending all my money and not saving a dime. But you better have some savings. We really put high standards on other people. We really do. We got to stop doing that. I just speak from the ladies. Stop doing that. Stop putting all them standards on that man you ain't met yet. You don't know him. Work on you. Put them standards on you.
And if you are matching the standards that you are holding others to, I would say also don't tear other people down for not, meeting that standard.
Oh, like if you make 6 figures and he make,
yeah,
something less than that. Yeah.
Like
don't down him.
Like don't be condescending.
Don't be rude. Yeah.
And like, cause that also.
Cause that might be why you still single. I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know the reasons. I'm just saying, like, that could be one of them.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Thank y'all for the questions. We appreciate
Thank you guys so much for all the questions. Like, they were really good questions. If y'all have any more questions for us, or if you guys want to see something new or something else from us or just from me, let me know down in the comments. We really appreciate all the comments, all the love. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We hope that you enjoyed it and that we covered all your questions. Remember that God is God and we are not. So we trust him and we let him do his thing. See you guys next time. Bye.
Vacation.
We out.